Chapter 5 of Book 8 of Physics by Aristotle, translated by Thomas Taylor. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Jeffrey Edwards. Chapter 5. This, however, takes place in a twofold respect, for either it is not through that which itself moves, but through something else which moves the mover, or it is through itself, and this is either the first after the last, or it moves through many media. Thus a staff moves a stone, and is moved by a hand, which is moved by a man, but man no longer moves because he is moved by something else. We say, therefore, that both move, as well that which is the last as that which is the first of the movers. But that is more a mover which is the first, for it moves that which is the last mover, but this does not move the first. And without the first mover indeed, the last will not move, but the first will move without the last. Thus a staff will not move unless a man moves it. If, therefore, it is necessary that everything which is moved should be itself moved by something, it is also necessary that it should either be moved by that which is moved by another, or that it should not be moved by it. And if it is moved by that which is moved by another, it is necessary that there should be some first mover, which is not moved by anything else. But if the first mover is a thing of this kind, it is not necessary that the other likewise should be so. For it is impossible that a thing which moves, and which is itself moved by another, should proceed to infinity, since of infinites there is no first. If, therefore, everything which is moved by something, but that which first moves is indeed moved, yet not by another, it is necessary that it should itself be moved by itself. Again, it is possible also to discuss this affair as follows. Everything which moves something, and through something, for that which moves either moves through itself or through another. Thus a man moves either through himself or through a staff, and the wind throws something down either by itself or through a stone which it impels. But it is impossible for that which moves to move without that which moves from itself. If, however, a thing moves itself from itself, it is not necessary that there should be something else through which it moves. But if that through which it moves is something different, there is something which moves not from anything else, but from itself, or there will be a procession to infinity. If, therefore, something moves being moved, it is necessary to stop and not proceed to infinity. For if a staff moves in consequence of being moved by a hand, the hand moves the staff. But if through this it moves something else, there is also something else which moves this. Since, however, it always moves something else through something, it is necessary that should be prior which itself moves itself. If, therefore, this is indeed moved, but there is not anything else which moves it, it is necessary that it should move itself. Hence, according to this reasoning, either that which is moved is immediately moved by that which moves itself, or some time or other it will arrive at a thing of this kind. In addition to what has been said, to those who consider, the following particulars also will be found to happen. For if everything which is moved by that which is moved, either this will be inherent in things accidentally, so as for that which is moved to move, yet not because it is itself moved, or it will not be inherent in things from accident, but essentially. In the first place, therefore, if it is inherent accidentally, it is not necessary for that which is moved also to be moved. And if this is admitted, it is evident that it may be possible some time or other that nothing may be moved. For accident is not necessary, but may not exist. If, therefore, we admit that to be which is possible, nothing impossible will happen, but perhaps that which is false. But for motion not to exist is impossible, for it was before demonstrated that it is necessary motion should always exist. And this happens conformably to reason. For it is necessary that there should be three things, viz., that which is moved, that which moves, and that by which it moves. With respect to that which is moved, therefore, it is necessary indeed that it should be moved, but it is not necessary that it should move. But with respect to that by which it moves, it is necessary that it should both move and be moved. For this is co-changed, since it subsists at the same time, and according to the same with that which is moved, as is evident in things which are locally moved. For it is necessary that they should thus touch each other, as far as to a certain thing. But that which moves, so as not to be that by which it moves, is immovable. Since, however, we see that which is last, which indeed may be moved, but does not possess the principle of motion, and since we also see that which is moved indeed, but by another and not by itself, it is reasonable, not to say necessary, that there should be a third thing which moves, being immovable. Hence Anaxagoras also speaks rightly when he says that intellect is impassive and unmingled, because he makes intellect to be the principle of motion. For thus alone can it move, being immovable, and have dominion, being unmingled. If, however, that which moves is not moved according to accident, but from necessity, and if unless it is moved it will not move, it is necessary that that which moves, so far as it is moved, should either be so moved as to be moved according to the same or a different species of motion. I say, for instance, either that which heats must also be itself heated, and that which imparts health must also be made healthy, and that which carries must be itself carried, or that which imparts health must be carried, and that which carries must be increased. It is evident, however, that this is impossible, for it is necessary to speak dividing as far as to individuals, just as if something should teach how to geometrize. This same thing should also be taught to geometrize. Or if anything throws, that it should also be thrown according to the same mode of throwing, or not in this manner indeed, but a different thing from a different genus, as, for instance, for that which carries to be increased, but that which increases this to be changed in quality by something else, and for that which causes this to be changed in quality to be moved according to some other motion. But it is necessary to stop, for motions are finite. To say, however, that a reversion again takes place, and that a thing which produces change in quality is carried, is to do the same thing as if any one should immediately say that which carries is carried, and that which teaches is taught. For it is evident that everything which is moved is also moved by a superior mover, and that it is more moved by that which is prior among movers. This, however, is impossible, for it will happen that the teacher will learn, of which two it is necessary that the one should possess, and that the other should not possess, science. Farther still, it will happen, which is still more absurd, that whatever is motive will be movable if everything which is moved by that which is moved, for it will be movable. And this is just as if some one should say that everything which has the power of imparting health is also capable of being made healthy, and that everything which has the power of building may be built, either immediately or through many media. I say, for instance, it is just as if everything which is motive is movable by something else, yet it is not movable with the same motion by which it moves a thing near, but with a different motion, just as if that which has the power of imparting health could learn. This assent, however, will some time or other be terminated in the same form, as we have before observed. One, therefore, of these is impossible, and the other fictitious, For it is absurd that a thing which is capable of producing a change in quality should necessarily be capable of being increased. It is not therefore necessary that a thing which is moved should always be moved by another which also is itself moved. The procession therefore will stop. Hence that which is first moved will either be moved by that which is at rest, or it will itself move itself. However, though it should be necessary to consider whether that which itself moves itself is the cause and principle of motion, or that which is moved by another, every one should admit the former, for that which is a cause through itself is always prior to that which is a cause through another. Chapter 6. This, therefore, must be considered assuming another beginning. If any thing moves itself, how and after what manner it moves. It is necessary, then, that whatever is moved should be divisible into things perpetually divisible, for this was before demonstrated in the universal discussions concerning nature, viz., that everything which is moved essentially is continued. It is impossible, however, that a thing which moves itself should wholly itself move itself, for the whole would be carried and would carry according to the same lation, since it is one and an individual in species. It would also be changed in quality, and be the cause of change in quality, so that a man might teach and be at the same time taught, might impart health and be made well according to the same health. Farther still, it has been shown that a thing which is movable is moved. But this, while it is moved, is in capacity and not in energy, and that which is in capacity proceeds to energy. But motion is the imperfect entelechia of that which is movable, and that which moves is already in energy. Thus, that which is hot heats, and in short, that which possesses form generates, so that the same thing will be at once and according to the same hot and not hot. The like also will take place in everything else, the mover of which necessarily has the synonymous. Hence, of that which moves itself, one thing moves and the other is moved. But that it is not possible that the same thing can so move itself as that each part should be moved by each, is from these arguments evident. For neither will there be any first mover if each part moves each, since that which is prior is more the cause of a thing being moved, and will more move than that which adheres. For to move is twofold, one kind of mover being that which is moved by something else, and another that which is moved by itself. But that which is more remote from the thing moved is nearer to the principle than that which is between. Again, it is not necessary that the mover should be moved except by itself. According to accident, therefore, the other will reciprocally move. I assume, therefore, that it may happen that it does not move. Hence one thing will be that which is moved, and another that which moves being immovable. Farther still, it is not necessary that the mover should be in its turn moved, but either it is necessary that something immovable should move, or that itself should be moved by itself, if it is necessary that motion should always exist. Again, with that motion with which it moves, it will also be moved, so that a thing which heats will be heated. However, neither of that which first moves itself will one part or many parts severally move themselves. For if the whole should be itself moved by itself, it will either be moved by some one of its parts, or the whole will be moved by the whole. If, therefore, it is moved because some one of its parts is moved by itself, this part will be that which first moves itself. For if it were separated, this would itself move itself, but the whole will no longer move itself. But if the whole is moved by the whole, these parts would move themselves accidentally. Hence, if they do not move themselves necessarily, let it be assumed that they are not moved by themselves. Of the whole, therefore, one part will move, being immovable, but the other will be moved, for thus alone is it possible that any thing can be self-motive. Again, if a whole line should move itself, one part of it will move, but the other will be moved. The line A, B, therefore, will be moved by itself, and by A. But since one thing moves, being moved by something else, but another being immovable, and since one thing which is moved also moves, but another does not move anything, it is necessary that a thing which itself moves itself should consist from that which is immovable but moves, and besides this, from that which is moved and does not move from necessity, but just as it may happen. For let A be that which moves indeed, but is immovable, and let B be that which is moved by A, and moves C. But this is moved indeed by B, but does not move anything, for though through many media it may some time or other arrive at C, yet let it arrive through one only. The whole, therefore, A, B, C, itself moves itself. But if I should take away C, A, B will indeed move itself, for A is that which moves, and B is that which is moved. But C will not itself move itself, nor in short will it be moved. Nor will the part B, C move itself without A, for B moves because it is moved by something else, and not because it is moved by any part of itself. Hence A, B will alone itself move itself. It is necessary, therefore, that a thing which itself moves itself should have that which moves being immovable, and that which is moved but does not necessarily move anything. These likewise must either both touch each other, or the one must touch the other. Hence, if that which moves is continued, for it is necessary that the thing moved should be continued, it is evident that the whole will itself move itself, not because some part of it is such as to move itself, but the whole will itself move itself, and will at the same time move and be moved, because there is some part of it which moves and is moved. For the whole does not move, neither is the whole moved, but A indeed moves, and B is alone moved. It is, however, dubious if any one takes away from A, if that which moves but is immovable is continued, or from B, which is moved, whether the remaining part of A will move, or of B will be moved. For if this be the case, A, B will not be that which is first moved by itself, since though something is taken away from A, B, nevertheless that which remains of A, B will move itself. Or shall we say that nothing prevents both, or one of them, viz. That which is moved, from being divisible in capacity, but indivisible in energy, and that if it were divisible, it would no longer possess the same power? Hence nothing prevents a thing from being primarily inherent in capacity in things divisible. From these things, therefore, it is evident that the nature which primarily moves is immovable. For whether that which is moved, and is moved by something, immediately stops at the first immovable, or at that which is itself moved indeed, but moves itself and is permanent, in both ways it will happen that the first mover in all things which are moved is immovable. Chapter 7. Since, however, it is necessary that motion should always be, and not fail, it is necessary that there should be something perpetual which first moves, whether there be one or many such natures, and which first moves being immovable. That each of those things, therefore, which are immovable indeed, but move, is perpetual, does not pertain to the present inquiry. But that it is necessary there should be something which is itself always immovable indeed, is void of all external mutation, both simply and according to accident, and is motive of another, will be evident to those who thus consider the affair. But let it happen, if some one is disposed to admit it in certain things, that they will sometimes be, and sometimes not, without generation and corruption. For perhaps it is necessary that if anything without parts at one time is, and at another is not, everything of this kind should at one time be, and at another time not be, without mutation, and that of principles which are immovable indeed but motive, it may also be possible that some of them may at one time be, and at another not, but it is not possible that all should be of this kind. For it is evident that there is a certain cause to things which move themselves, of their existing sometimes and sometimes not. For it is necessary that everything which itself moves itself should have magnitude, if nothing without parts is moved. But there is no necessity that the nature which moves should have magnitude, as is evident from what has been said. Hence, no one of those natures which are indeed immovable, but which do not always exist, is the cause why some things are generated and others corrupted, and this continually. Nor yet any one of those which always indeed move these, but are themselves moved by others. For neither each, nor all of these, is the cause of perpetuity and continuity, since for a thing thus to subsist is perpetual and from necessity, but all these are infinite, and all of them do not subsist at once. It is evident, therefore, that though there should be 10,000 principles which are immovable indeed, but move, and many of those things which move themselves should be corrupted, and others be generated, and this thing, being immovable, should move that, and another thing this, nevertheless there is something which comprehends or contains, and this, besides particulars, which is indeed the cause why some things are, and others are not, and is the cause of continued mutation. And this indeed is the cause of these, but these are the causes of motion to others. If therefore motion is perpetual, the first mover also will be perpetual, if it is one, but if there be many first movers, there will be many perpetual movers. But it is necessary to think that there is rather one than many, and finite rather than infinite movers. For the same thing happening, finite things are rather always to be assumed. Since in things which subsist naturally, it is necessary that the finite, and that which is better, if possible, should rather be inherent. But it is sufficient, though it be one, that the first of things immovable, being perpetual, should be to other things the principle of motion. From this also it is evident that the first mover should be a certain one, and perpetual. For it has been demonstrated that it is necessary motion should always exist. And if it always is, it is also necessary that it should be continued. For that which always is continued, but that which is successive is not continued. If too it is continued, it is one, but the motion is one, which is from one mover, and of one thing which is moved. For if another and another thing moves anything, the whole motion is not continued, but successive. Chapter 8. From these arguments some one may believe that there is a certain first immovable nature, and again, if he looks to the principles of motive natures. That there are some things, therefore, which at one time are moved, and at another are at rest, is evident. And from this it becomes manifest that neither are all things moved, nor all things at rest, nor that some things are always at rest, and others are always moved. For things which verge to both these, and possess a power at one time of being moved, and at another of being at rest, afford a demonstration concerning these. Since, however, things of this kind are manifest to all men, and we also wish to show each nature of the two, viz., that some things indeed are always immovable, but others always moved, and since we have proceeded as far as to this, and have established as principles that everything which is moved by something, and that this is either immovable or moved, and is always moved either by itself or by another, we have at length assumed that the principle of things which are moved is that which itself moves itself, and that the principle of all things is that which is immovable. But we see indeed, and evidently, that there are things of such a nature as to move themselves, as the genus of things animated and of animals. These also afford an opinion that motion might happen to be generated, when, in short, it was not, because we see this takes place in animated natures. For these, as it seems, when they have been without motion, are again moved. This, then, it is necessary to assume, that these move themselves according to one motion, and according to this not properly. For the cause is not from the animal, but other natural motions are inherent in animals, according to which they are not moved through themselves, such as augmentation, diminution, and respiration, with which every animal is moved when at rest, and is not moved according to the motion which is produced from itself. But the cause of this is that which contains, and many of the things which enter into the animal. Thus, for instance, food is the cause of some motions, for when it is concocted, animals sleep, and when it is distributed, they awake, and move themselves, the first principle of motion being external. Hence they are not always continually moved by themselves, for to each of the natures which move themselves something else is present, which moves, being itself moved and changed. In all these, however, that which first moves, and is the cause of a thing moving itself, is also moved by itself, but according to accident, for the body changes its place, and therefore that which is in the body, and which moves itself by a lever. From hence it may be believed that if there is anything which ranks among things immovable indeed, but which move and are themselves moved according to accident, it is impossible that it can move with a continued motion, so that if it is necessary that there should be continued motion, it is also necessary that there should be some first nature, which moves being immovable, and this not according to accident. If there ought to be, as we have said, in things a certain unceasing and immortal motion, and if being ought to abide in itself and in the same, for the principle remaining, it is also necessary that the universe should remain, since it is in continuity with the principle. It is not, however, the same thing for any being to be moved accidentally by itself and by another. For to be moved by another belongs also to some of the principles in the heavens, viz., to some of those which are moved with many lations, but the other belongs to corruptible natures alone. Chapter 9. If, however, there is anything of such a nature as always to move being immovable, and it is itself perpetual, it is also necessary that the nature which is first moved by this should be perpetual. But this is manifest indeed, because there would not be generation and corruption and mutation in other things, unless something moved being moved. For that which is immovable will always move with the same and with one motion, after the same manner, because it is not always changed with reference to that which is moved. But that which is moved by the immovable, or by that which is now moved, because it is differently affected with respect to things, will not be the cause of the same motion, but through being in contrary places or forms, will cause each of other things to be moved with contrary motions, and at one time to be at rest, and at another to be moved. From what has been said also, that becomes evident of which we doubted in the beginning, viz., why all things were not either moved or at rest, or some things were always moved, and others always at rest, and some things were sometimes moved, and sometimes not. For the cause of this is now manifest, because some things indeed are moved by that which is perpetually immovable, and therefore are always changed, but others are moved by that which is moved and changed, and therefore are themselves necessarily changed. But another thing, as we have observed, is immovable, as being that which remaining simply, and after the same manner, and in the same, produces one simple motion. Chapter 10. By making, however, another beginning, these things will be more apparent. For it must be considered whether it is possible that there can be any continued motion or not, and if it is possible, what it is, and what is the first of motions. For it is evident that if it is necessary motion should always exist, and this is the first and continued motion, the first mover will move according to this motion, which is necessarily one and the same, and continued and the first. But since there are three motions, one according to magnitude, another according to passive quality, and another according to place, which we call lation, it is necessary that lation should be the first, since it is impossible there should be increase unless alliation had a prior subsistence. For that which is increased is partly increased by the similar, and partly by the dissimilar, for the contrary is said to be aliment to the contrary, and everything accedes becoming similar to the similar. It is necessary, therefore, that the mutation into contraries should be alliation. If also a thing is changed in quality, it is necessary there should be that which produces the change in quality, and which makes a thing from being hot in capacity, hot in energy. It is evident, therefore, that the thing which moves does not subsist similarly, but at one time is nearer, and at another more remote from that which is changed in quality. But these cannot subsist without lation. If, therefore, it is necessary that motion should always exist, it is also necessary that lation should always be the first of motions. And if of lations one is prior and another posterior, it is necessary that the first motion should be the first lation. Again, the principle of all passions is condensation and rarefaction. For the heavy and the light, the soft and the hard, the hot and the cold, appear to be certain densities and rarities. But condensation and rarefaction are concretion and secretion, according to which generation also and corruption are predicated of essences or substances. It is also necessary that things which grow together, or which are separated, should be changed according to place. The magnitude, likewise, of that which is increased or diminished changes according to place. Further still, hence also, to those who consider the affair, it will be evident that lation is the first motion. For that which is first, as in other things, so likewise in motion, may be predicated multifariously. For that is said to be prior, without which other things will not be, but which can itself exist without others. That also is said to be prior which is first in time, and that which is first in essence. Hence, since it is necessary that motion should exist continually, and either that which is continued or that which is successive may exist continually, but rather that which is continued, and it is better to be continued than successive, since likewise we always conceive that what is better exists in nature, if it be possible for it to exist, and it is possible to be continued, which will be afterwards demonstrated, but is now supposed, and it is not possible that this can be anything else than lation. This being the case, it is necessary that lation should be the first motion. For there is no necessity that a thing which is moved according to lation should either be increased or changed in quality, and therefore neither that it should be generated or corrupted. But no one of these could exist unless the continued motion exists, which is produced by the first mover. Farther still, lation also is the first motion in time. for perpetual natures can alone be moved with this motion. In each of those things, however, it may be said, which have generation, it is necessary that lation should be the last motion. For after a thing is generated, it is first necessary that there should be change in quality and increase, but lation is the motion of things which are now perfect. In answer to this, it must be observed that it is necessary something else should be prior, which is moved according to lation, and which is also the cause of generation to generated natures, not being generation itself, as that which generates is prior to that which is generated. But generation may seem to be the first of motions, because it is necessary that a thing should first be generated. This indeed takes place in each of the things which are generated, but it is necessary that something else should be moved prior to things which are generated, itself subsisting without being generated. And it is necessary that there should be something else prior to this. But since it is impossible that generation should be first, for if this were the case, everything that is moved would be corruptible, it is evident that no one of the successive motions can be prior. But I call successive motions increase, afterwards change in quality, diminution, and corruption, for all these are posterior to generation. Hence, if generation is not prior to lation, neither will any other mutation. In short, that which is generated appears to be imperfect and to proceed to the principle, so that what is posterior in generation is prior by nature. Lastly, lation is inherent in all things which are generated. Hence some vital natures are entirely immovable through the want of an organ, as plants and many genera of animals, but with others motion is present when they are perfect. If lation, therefore, is more inherent in things which have obtained more of nature, this motion also will be the first of the others according to essence, as well for the above reasons as because that which is moved departs the least from essence of all motions, in being borne along. For according to this motion alone, nothing of the being of a thing is changed, as of that which is changed in quality the quality is changed, and of that which is increased and diminished the quantity. But it is especially manifest that the nature which itself moves itself especially moves properly with local motion. But we say that this is the principle of things which are moved and move, and is first to things that are moved, viz. That which itself moves itself. That lation, therefore, is the first of motions is from these things evident. End of chapter 10 of book 8. Recording in memory of Mitchell Edwards.